People in the valley used to laugh at him, not because he was cruel, not because he was strange, but because to them he looked useless. While others rushed through life like they were being chased, he moved slowly. While others argued, he listened. While others fought the world, he seemed to let the world pass through him. His name was Shen, and the villagers called him the man who did nothing.
Mist lay low over the valley like wet cloth. The river moved quietly. The village did not. Before the sun cleared the ridge, a line had already formed outside Han's rice shop. Not a neat line, a desperate one. People stood too close, hands clenched around empty sacks, eyes fixed on the door like it might save them. A woman whispered, "They say winter will be longer." A man answered, "They say the river will freeze early." Someone else said, "They say the hills will starve." Rumor traveled faster than wind, and rumor always sounds like truth when your stomach is afraid. Wei pushed through the crowd, breath fogging. He saw a boy holding his dog's leash with one hand and an empty bowl with the other. The dog's ribs showed, the boy's eyes did not. Wei heard a voice behind him. "My wife told me to feed the dog less," a man muttered, "just in case." Wei felt his throat tighten. Han stood inside the shop, sleeves tied back, hair damp with sweat. He wasn't counting money, he was counting sacks. One by one, the pile shrank. He looked up and saw Wei. His face didn't show anger, it showed something worse: calculation, fear, responsibility. "Wei," Han said low, "tell them to stop pushing." Wei looked at the line. "How?" he whispered. Han's jaw tightened. "Kai," Han said. Wei followed Han's pace. Across the street, on the opposite side of the market lane, another stall had appeared like a wound opening. Kai's stall. New banner, bright paint, clean baskets, and a crowd too, but not the same kind of crowd. At Kai's stall, people weren't smiling, they were swallowing. Because Kai wasn't selling cheap, Kai was selling fear. His sign was already up, written thick and bold. Winter price, 2 times. He stood there, palms open, voice loud like a preacher. "Winter is long, traders won't come, buy now or starve later." And people did, not because they trusted him, because they feared their own empty pots. Kai's eyes flicked to Han's shop. Not hatred, hunger. Han's voice dropped. "He wants me to sell normal until I run out. Then he becomes the only bowl, and his price becomes law." Wei's hands curled. "So we raise price too," Wei whispered, "to match him." Han shook his head once. "If I raise price, they riot. If I keep price, my stock vanishes. If I lock the door," he glanced at the crowd pressing close, "they break it." Outside, someone shouted, "Han is hiding rice." Another voice answered, "Kai is warning us." A third voice hissed, "Han will sell to the rich and let the poor freeze." The line tightened. The rumor grew teeth. Wei's eyes scanned for Shen. He wasn't in the crowd. He wasn't at the stall. He was where he always was, at the riverbank, sitting, watching water move around stones as if nothing in the world could rush it. Wei ran. He found Shen beneath reeds that bowed and rose like slow breathing. Shen's robe hem was damp. His hands were calm. Wei stopped in front of him, panting. "Uncle," Wei said, "the village is turning into hunger." Shen didn't look up. He watched a leaf spin once in a quiet eddy and slide away. "Kai is selling winter," Wei said fast. "He says the season will be longer. He raised price 2 times. People believe him." Wei swallowed. "Han's sacks are disappearing. If Han runs out, Kai owns the village." Shen finally lifted his eyes. "How many sacks does Han have left?" Shen asked. Wei blinked. "Not enough," he said. Shen's gaze stayed flat. "Then you're not fighting hunger," he said. "You're fighting a story." Wei frowned. What story? Shen looked toward the village. A story that says, there will be nothing, he said, so take everything now. Wei felt his throat tighten. That's exactly what they're doing. Shen stood. He didn't hurry. He started walking toward the market lane like a man going to check weather. Wei followed. As they neared the square, the sound hit them first. Crying, bargaining, shouting, the gongs of panic. Han's voice rose, trying to hold a flood with his hands. 1 sack per family. 1 sack only. Stop pushing. A man screamed, Who made you king of rice? A woman shouted, My children are thin. Someone else yelled, Kai warned us, you're hiding. Shen walked straight through the noise. Kai saw him. Kai's smile widened, the way a knife widens. Ah, Kai called, the river saint. The crowd turned. Whispers ran. Shen didn't answer Kai. He looked at Han. Han's eyes flashed. Relief, then anger, then shame. Uncle Shen, Han said through clenched teeth, if you came to meditate, come tomorrow. Shen looked at the line, at the sacks, at the mouths. Then he looked at Kai's sign, 2 times. Kai's stall was loud with the sound of coins and fear. Shen spoke, not loud, but the kind of quiet that makes people lean in. Keep your price, Shen said. Han stared as if Shen had slapped him. Keep it, Han snapped. Are you blind? He is selling for 2 times. Shen didn't flinch. Keep it, he repeated. Han's voice rose, desperation bleeding through. Shen, I have enough rice to feed this village for a month. Han pointed a trembling finger at the line. But I do not have enough to feed their panic for a week. They are asking for 10 sacks each. If I keep my price, my stock will vanish, and then Kai wins. Shen nodded once. Then we must stop the panic tonight, Shen said. Han frowned. How? Shen looked toward the storehouse door. Make them see abundance, he said, until fear loses its reason to run. Han blinked. Wei blinked too. Shen continued calm. Tonight, he said, load 3 carts with rice.
Han's face hardened instantly. You want me to move rice out of the village? While they're starving? Shen met his eyes. We are not sending away rice, Shen said. He paused, just long enough for it to land. We are sending away the panic. Han's throat worked. Wei said carefully, Uncle, if we move rice away, won't we have less? Shen shook his head. We move it out, he said, and before dawn, we bring it back. Han stared. That's pointless. Shen's gaze stayed flat. Pointless to the rice, he said, not pointless to the eyes. Han looked toward the line again. He saw it now. They weren't counting rice. They were counting confidence. Han's voice dropped. They think I'm running out. Shen nodded. And fear runs faster than truth, he said. So show them truth in a shape fear understands. Han swallowed. What shape? Shen pointed down the street. Wooden wheels, he said, and heavy sacks. Han's pride wanted to resist, but his storehouse wanted to live. He nodded once. That night, the village slept in pieces. Even the dogs stopped barking. In Han's backyard, lantern light flickered like trapped fireflies. Han, Wei, and 3 trusted men worked without speaking. They didn't take all the rice. They took enough to make the carts look impossible. 3 carts, high-piled, sacks stacked like walls. The wheels groaned. The axles complained. Han wiped sweat from his lip. This is madness, he muttered. Shen didn't answer. He only watched the sky. Still black, still early. They rolled the carts out, not toward the road, toward the old barn near the river bend, a place hidden by reeds and low trees. They covered the sacks with straw mats. Nothing stolen, nothing lost, just moved out of sight. Then they waited, not for morning, for the first sound of morning panic. Before dawn, the line formed again, as if fear had slept standing. We could hear it from the barn, footsteps, whispers. a baby crying, a man praying through his teeth. Han's jaw clenched. They're back. Shen nodded once. Good, he said. Now we bring the rice home. They rolled the carts out of the barn and into the mist. The wheels made a heavy sound on the stone, not loud, but undeniable. Wood and weight, like the valley itself exhaling. When the first cart reached the market lane, heads turned. A woman's mouth opened. A man lowered his sack. Someone whispered to himself. Where did that come from? Then the second cart appeared, then the third. 3 massive carts of rice rolling through fog like a moving wall. Han stepped into the street and raised his voice just enough. Put them in the back, he called. We have plenty. We watched the line change. Not vanish, change. The same people who looked like they would claw a door yesterday now looked embarrassed, because a panic makes sense only when you believe you are last. But if carts keep arriving, you are never last.
A woman in line tightened her grip on her sack, then loosened it. She looked at her child. Then she looked at the carts again. She whispered to herself, almost angry at her own fear. Why am I carrying 5 sacks today if rice will be here next week? She stepped out of line, bought 1 sack, and left. Another man watched her, then did the same. 1 sack, not 10. The hoarders hesitated. Their profit lived inside urgency, and urgency was dying in the open air. Across the street, Kai's stall felt different now. His sign still said 2 times, but it didn't look like power anymore. It looked like greed. Kai's eyes narrowed. He watched his customers glance at Han's carts. He saw the fear drain from their shoulders, and with it, his price. A man approached Kai's stall, then stopped. He pointed at Han's shop. Why is your rice so expensive, he said, if Han has plenty? Kai opened his mouth. No good answer came out, because the rumor had only one engine, scarcity, and Shen had put a mountain of rice in front of that engine. Kai's crowd thinned, not all at once, like smoke fading when the wind changes. Kai's jaw tightened. He lowered his price, not to be kind, to survive. 4 times, then 3, then 2. Still too high, still ugly, but falling. Han watched him his doorway, stunned. We didn't sell cheaper, Han murmured. Shen's eyes stayed on the market lane. No, he said, you didn't fight his price. Wei whispered. Then what did we fight? Shen answered without drama. The clock, he said, the ticking inside their fear. Han's throat worked. But we didn't add rice, Han said. We just moved it. Shen nodded once. Exactly, he said. Panic is not cured by more grain. It is cured by more certainty. Wei looked at the carts. He understood the cruel beauty of it. They weren't feeding mouths. They were feeding perception. And perception was what Kai had been selling. That afternoon, the line outside Han's shop became normal again. Not empty, normal. A mother bought 1 sack. A fisherman bought 1 sack. A man bought 2 and apologized for even asking. And across the street, Kai's stall sat quieter. Kai's banner still bright, but his eyes less bright. Because now, if he tried to scream long winter again, the village would simply look at Han's carts and shrug. The rumor had lost its teeth. At sunset, when the lane finally cooled, Han sat on the stone step exhausted. His shop was not empty. His storehouse was not dead. His face looked older, but awake. Wei stood beside him. Han's voice came out rough. I thought I had to beat him, Han murmured. I thought I had to shout louder. Shen leaned his broom against the wall. He didn't celebrate. He didn't scold. He only said, You can't punch smoke. Wei finished it quietly, remembering. You changed the wind. Shen nodded once. He looked at Kai's stall across the street. Kai was stacking sacks again, not for war, for ordinary trade. Shen's final line came soft, but sharp enough to stay. If you can't stop fear, Shen said, stop feeding the illusion that makes it profitable.
What Shen and Han did wasn't just a trick with wooden carts. It is a macroeconomic strategy used by central banks today. When people believe a bank is running out of money,
They panic and withdraw everything at once. This is called a bank run. How do banks stop it? They don't lock the doors. They stack millions of dollars in the front windows. When people see abundance, the fear of scarcity vanishes. Shen didn't fight the rumor of winter. He simply proved that Han's supply was bigger than the winter. Kai's rumor was an invisible threat, a long winter. Shen fought it with a visible signal, heavy carts. You cannot defeat a physical fear with logical words. You have to defeat it with physical evidence. The sound of the cartwheels did more to calm the village than 1,000 speeches ever could. Kai built his entire pricing model on the assumption of panic. But panic has a short lifespan. Once the ticking clock was removed, the villagers realized they didn't need to hoard, and Kai was left holding inventory he couldn't sell.
Lessons learned. Don't argue with panic. Replace its picture. Fight invisible rumors with visible proof. Starve the fear and the market corrects itself.